I spent 2,921 euros and 9 cents in 7 months living in Bulgaria. In this video, I want to talk about and break down just how I was able to live on such a low budget, what were my main expenses, where I saved the most money, and what are the prices in Bulgaria. Let's dive in. First of all, I want to clear out a little bit what exactly this number means. Basically, I went through all of my bank statements and came up with this number from the day that I moved to Bulgaria and for the duration of 7 months, which was from mid-May to mid-November. If you've been following my channel, then you already know that I live quite a nomadic lifestyle. So I don't own a property, I'm not renting an apartment, I move around a lot. For the past almost 15 years, I've lived in several different countries and have been pretty much traveling almost non-stop. For exactly 5 years, I have not been paying any rent or any living house utilities. So this is the main reason why I'm able to stay so low budget. And I will talk about how I avoid paying rent or any utilities in just a little bit. Now, what were my main expenses? I spend the most money on food, gas, well, diesel for my car, and health insurance. Those were like my three main expenses throughout these 7 months living here. When it comes to food, I keep it quite low maintenance or low budget. I am not splurging. Most of the time, I'm able to keep it so low budget because I cook for myself pretty much all the time. I think in these 7 months, I probably ate out like not even a dozen times, maybe like 10 times. When I cook for myself, I can go out and just get groceries. I go to the cheapest place that I know, and especially with fresh produce, I learned that the best thing is to go to local markets because here in Bulgaria, the food can be quite expensive. I was actually shocked how expensive it is, and I will talk about this in just a little bit as well. The second biggest expense is diesel for my car. I've been moving around Bulgaria a lot. I've been exploring a lot. I was house hunting, so I've been to so many different places. I keep thinking that probably most Bulgarians haven't traveled Bulgaria as much as I have in these last 7 months. So that was quite a big expense, but actually really not that big of an expense because the good thing about Bulgaria is that the diesel prices here are actually, I think, the lowest of all European Union countries. And my car as well, like, I love my car for this. The usage of fuel is so minimal. I have a old Volkswagen Passat, 2003. I think on average it uses probably about 5 liters and a half per 100 kilometers, which is very low. It does depend a little bit on the terrain. When I was driving down the Black Sea coast where it's mostly flat, I saw that the usage, it was very low compared to when I was, let's say, in Stara Planina exploring villages where it was a lot of driving like through huge hills and mountains and things. My car only broke down kind of once, and to repair that it was 50 leva, which is 25 euros. So again, my car is really affordable to maintain, and there are parts for these cars everywhere in Europe. So that was also one of the main reasons why I got this car. And I did buy it just before coming to Bulgaria and did all the maintenance and registration and insurance just before. So this expense is obviously not included in these 7 months when I already came here. So yeah, I didn't really have any other expenses than just fuel in these 7 months. And then the expense that I despise the most is health insurance. Until recently, I was insured in Slovenia, and the health insurance there is quite expensive if you ask me, because you're also paying for like when you are gonna be already retired. So for your like retirement plan or something like that. And so that expense is like 74 euros per month. And I'm now trying to get on the Bulgarian insurance, which is much more affordable. So hopefully soon I can get rid of that big expense. The only other subscriptions that I have are I pay for Apple storage, which is 3 euros per month, and I paid for my phone bill in Slovenia, which was 8 euros per month. And I could use my phone in Bulgaria as well until recently. I just last week got my Bulgarian phone package and a Bulgarian number, so from now on I'm going to be paying a little bit more. And then other expenses, yeah, mainly probably like hygienic products, and that's about it. I did take 2 trips to Slovenia during this time, where I flew from Sofia to Zagreb and I once took a bus. During those weeks that I was in Slovenia, I haven't really spent a lot. Like I did buy food again, so I pretty much had like the same habits as I would living here. So I spent some money on, yeah, travel and food. That's about it. I'm not really taking that out because I think it would amount to pretty much the same amounts as if I was here. I also took 2 road trips out of Bulgaria, once a day trip to Greece and once like a overnight trip to Turkey, so that's also included. You can definitely do it. You can have a really nice life, a very nomadic and comfortable life on a very low budget. Guys, I have a confession to make. A few videos ago, I told you that my goal for 2025 was to reach 5,000 subscribers, and we did that, thanks. But I wasn't really honest with you. My goal was actually to reach 10,000 subscribers, and that was in 2024. Here is proof. I posted this mood board in February 2024, and if you zoom in, you can see there's a picture of a silver button, YouTube button, and a number 10,000 written just under it. So now we're in 2026, and my goal is to reach 20,000 subscribers. Since 62% out of the 26,000 people watching my videos are unsubscribed, please do me a favor, make my year and fund this project, this crazy experiment of mine, by just clicking that subscribe button. Thank you so much. I promise I'm gonna send extra karma points your way. So let's talk about how I actually save the most money. As I mentioned at the beginning, I don't pay rent and I haven't paid any household utilities like electricity, water, heating since I've been here in Bulgaria. In my experience, the biggest monthly expense would be that. So if you have your own property, then all the utilities that you have to pay, the taxes, everything that comes with owning a house, or if you're renting, on top of that, you have to pay rent. I don't have any debts, so I don't have to pay any mortgage or loans or nothing. So, and I want to keep it that way. That's why I came to Bulgaria. My advice, if you don't want to be paying rent and you are into this kind of lifestyle, a more low budget, unconventional, nomadic lifestyle, I utilized Workaway. So I was doing different projects. I actually did only one project at the beginning where I compensated my time for accommodation and food. That was with Pierre. You really enjoyed those videos, so I highly recommend, if you haven't seen that, go back and I'll link them and go see. And for the rest, I was pretty much just house sitting or pet sitting. So in exchange for feeding the animals, taking care of the animals, or just like taking care of the property, being in the property, making sure that there is no trespassers. In Bulgaria, in a lot of the villages, there's a problem when if the house is not taken care of or if no one is there, then there's higher chances of someone trespassing or of like having burglar, oh my god, the word burglaries, things like that. So people like to have someone on the property at all times. So Bulgaria is a really great place if you want to do house and pet sitting. Yeah, like I mentioned, I used Workaway, which is just one of the websites that you can use. I've been using it for other projects in other countries as well, so I already have references and it was just easy for me to use it. By the way, if you do want to use Workaway, I have a link in the description, so follow that link and sign up, and I think you will get some extra months on top of what the yearly subscription is. And then you have other websites like trusted house sitters that I haven't used yet, but I hear a lot about. One more thing that I usually follow is Facebook groups. There's house and pet sitting groups for the entire Europe or like specific regions, specific countries. It's less controlled, so maybe there are more possibilities of things going wrong just because you don't really have references. I have to say this method worked really well for me because I wanted to really explore Bulgaria as well. So this way, when I was doing different projects, different houses, I could stay in different areas around Bulgaria and had time to explore and be able to kind of like assess if the region is right for me and if somewhere where I would actually want to buy a property and stay. If you are in like a similar journey that I am and you want to eventually buy a property here, buy a house, move long term, I think this way of exploring it by doing different projects in different regions is actually really, really valuable because you get to not only see different regions but meet people from these regions, local people who can really help you a lot with finding the right property. For me, there is no negatives in this kind of lifestyle, in this kind of way of moving around and exploring Bulgaria. It's just, yeah, it's all positives. Okay, not to go too off topic, we are still talking about how I save my money. I think the second most important thing about being able to live on such a low budget is the fact that I was only staying in rural areas. I think when you live in a city, there are so many different, not just temptations, but pretty much anything you do costs money. Before moving to Bulgaria, I lived in London for a while, and there's this joke that just by leaving the house in London, it already costs you £20. I think now that number should be even higher, like £50. Because yeah, everywhere you go, anything you do, it's just gonna cost you a lot. When you live in a rural area, there's just no way that you can spend that much. There's no coffee shops a lot of the times. There's very limited shops. So naturally, you're just not tempted or drawn to spend so much money. I had no impulse shoppings happening. Every time that I go to a town, a bigger town, that I do my weekly, or like I even do like my shopping now every second week. And I really think about what shops I'm going to and what I need to buy. I haven't bought almost any clothes while I was here. I actually bought this because I just didn't have warm pants for in the house for winter. And I bought some underwear and like warm winter boots because I just didn't have that before coming to Bulgaria because I never need them. So I would really like always make a list of things that I need to buy, and very, very rarely I would buy something that is not on that list because I don't need it. Every time I move from a place to place here, I have to pack everything in my car, and there's a bed in my car, which we're gonna get to later. But yeah, I don't have a lot of space, so I keep everything pretty minimal and really don't spend if I don't need to. The reason is also because I'm not employed. I haven't been employed for almost a year, so my resources are super limited. So when you have limited income, you just are very careful about how you're gonna spend. You know, I don't go out and grab coffee every day. I pretty much prepare everything here by myself, and that saves a ton of money. Like when I lived in Ljubljana, I ate outside pretty much every day, sometimes even multiple times a day. And I cannot believe it, like how much I spent just eating out. But okay, 5 years ago, eating out in the capital of Slovenia was still quite affordable. Nowadays, it's just, I don't see how people could do that on salaries that we have. Anyway, when you live in rural areas, there's also not so many social events where you could go to. You don't go on drinking expades or out for lunches, like I said, festivals, parties that I used to go almost every weekend. There's none of this. That I went to exactly 2 festivals in this year. One was in Barbara on the beach and was amazing. And the second one was on the Balkan station in the Iskar Gorge. And both of those were again super, super low budget. It was car camping. It was, buying drinks in the supermarket and drinking before going to the party, making my own food. Yeah, like super, super low budget again. And then there's travel. I mentioned a couple of times now that I did road trips with my car. I have a bed in my car. That's why I bought like a station wagon, so I have a lot of space, and I have a literally like a full length inflatable mattress in my car, so that when I was changing locations or doing road trips and house hunting, when I went to Turkey, when I did my big 7-day Stranja road trip, when I went and did like weekend trips to the Black Sea coast, I never spent money on accommodation. I never rented rooms. I always slept in my car. And again, that saved me a lot. First of all, it gave me freedom because Bulgaria is actually a really great country to camp and car camp, or I don't know if you want to do van life or whatever. I found it very safe, and there's so many spots where you can do it, and no one has ever come across me and said that you cannot do it, even though it's illegal to do it, but it's tolerated. And even on the Black Sea coast, where there's a lot of people, you think there would be someone controlling or checking up on you, but no, it's completely wild and free, which is one thing that I really, really love about this country. And yeah, I think those are my biggest like saving points. Now let's talk about how much stuff actually costs in Bulgaria. I already talked about food and diesel. When I first came to Bulgaria, I was actually really shocked because food in like a normal supermarket or like in Lidl, which I use the most, is more expensive than in Slovenia, which doesn't make really any sense because the standard of living is much higher in Slovenia than it is here. So I was expecting the food to be much more affordable. But yeah, it's not the case. I think that's mostly because most of the things in Bulgaria are imported. Most of the products that I buy are 20 to 30% more expensive in Bulgaria than they are, let's say, in Slovenia. And they're even cheaper once you go to Italy or Spain. So the food in Slovenia is also not the cheapest. Definitely not. But yeah, I was really, really surprised because I thought the more east you go, things should be cheaper, but it's not always the case. Like I said, diesel is one of the cheapest here. Pretty much the same as food goes for hygienic products or anything like health related, electronics, things like that. I think that's also like about 20-25% more expensive than what I'm used to from like Central or Western Europe. When it comes to clothes, I think it's kind of like the same. It depends on the shop, I guess. There's now, I see a lot of shops popping up, like these huge cheap chains that we have also in Slovenia, and I know there's like in Austria and Spain, and now they're here also, and yeah, they have pretty similar prices. But once you go like a little bit more upscale, I'm not exactly sure. Like, I've never been to Zara or any of those shops here, so I don't actually know like what are the prices there, because they also vary across Europe. And then there are utilities, which I can only speculate from what people have told me who are paying the utilities, like, yeah, water, electricity, council tax, things like that. I think all of those things are much cheaper than what they are in, like, yeah, Central or Western Europe. I know there's going to be some changes. We just went from leva to euro, so Bulgaria just entered the eurozone, which I think is going to change a lot. But those changes, I think, were also felt before, months before. For instance, I've been following the real estate market since, let's say, mid-pandemic. The prices of real estate have doubled, and in some cases even tripled. I think the cheaper the properties were before, like those price increases were the biggest. So let's say if the house was before 3,000 euros, it will now be around 10,000 euros. So you see, like, the increase is like massive. Whereas the houses that maybe were before 20,000 euros are maybe now like 25, 30. So yeah, they are more expensive, but it's just not that big of a price jump. And I think that's already happened with a lot of the things, and it will gradually be continuing this trend. To conclude, I will just say that my life is definitely not luxurious. I'm used to living with very little. I've tried a lot of like different alternative ways of living before. If you've been on this channel long enough, then you know, like, I lived in a cave, I lived on a ship, I lived, yeah, in different countries in like very humble ways. This nomadic lifestyle, however it may seem on the outside that it requires a lot of money, it actually doesn't if you are very resourceful, if you're in times a little bit frugal, yes, but then also I think every once in a while I do something to like treat myself, maybe you can call it that. Go to a festival, go and have pizza outside, buy something just to make myself feel a little bit better or like more cozy. I think the biggest advantage is that because I live with so little, I don't require a big income, and therefore I can live with more freedom. Like, I don't have a job. I do little projects here and there, and this allows me to really, first of all, yeah, do whatever I want with my time, and then just take care of myself a little bit better, just do things that really feel good and feel right, and I'm not, you know, obliged to be part of the system and do the whole rat race thing. I think that pretty much sums everything up. If you have any questions, you know what to do, comment below. I always appreciate when you like, and oh my god, you should totally subscribe if you haven't yet. Do that. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.